This is Zachary Terraz's project on environmental science. What source of energy did I research? Well, I researched the wind energy. This energy has been used for a long time. The initial use of wind power was by the Egyptians in 3000 BC to move their sailboats. Windmills were first used to grind grains anywhere from 2000 to 4000 years ago in ancient Persia and Babylon. Crusaders brought the windmill idea back to Europe with them in the 11th century AD. In the 1930s, windmills in rural areas of the US pumped water to generate electricity. This is collected from nature in a different way than most renewable resources. As you know from the sun, to collect solar energy, we need high-tech solar panels. That's the best way to collect the energy. It's different with the wind turbine, though, because the wind turbine is really, it just uses the wind. I mean, it's metal with a motor that collects the energy and in turn uses that energy to disperse to different places. Uses the wind to turn the electric turbine. It uses wind to move of a liquid form. So let's picture the wind as a liquid. If you picture it moving the propellers as a liquid. So if you think of a motorboat, when your motorboat is going, the propellers are turning because of the water. It's the same type of nature here, except wind is definitely not a liquid, but it is a mass. So it uses the mass of the wind like what we would think of as a liquid. This all goes back to the sun. The sun heats the earth, which makes the hot air rise, turns the pressure, which makes wind, and this turns the propeller. The equipment that is used when collecting the wind would be the wind electric turbine. This is your basic windmill. Not the old-fashioned one, but the one that you would see out in an open field that collects wind that would be used to eventually restore power. I'm going to break it down. There's a diagram here for you, and you can look at the certain numbers have certain big importances, and I'm going to just do the big ones and the basic ones. Number 1, blades. The arm of a propeller. That makes pretty much sense, you know. I mean, if you think about it, it's the propeller. But it is different in this than in an airplane, because the wind turns that, which in turn is the generator of the whole entire wind turbine. So this would be probably the second most important thing. The rotor is a system of rotating airfolds. That's number 2. If you look at it, I know it's a little bit weird to see it, but think of it as like a airplane. On the airplane, old term airplanes, you know, the ones that had the propellers on the front, they had that little area right in the front. That would be number 2. You know, it just helps move the entire thing. It's the turning point of the entire propeller blade system. Next is number 6, which is the gearbox. The gearbox holds the gears. And I know that doesn't sound amazing, but in turn, it helps the generator, which captures and holds the energy, which is probably the biggest part of the entire windmill. Number 10 would be the wind vane, which shows the direction of the wind and where, if it's strong, if it's not. And this is maybe not important to everybody, but I think it's pretty important, because if you're not having a lot of wind in this area, then maybe you want to move your electric wind turbine. And number 15 is the tower. The tower holds the whole entire system up. So, you know, that's very important too. Now, if you look, you should be able to see what is a map of the US. Certain states are colored in certain colors and others aren't. These are the states that use wind energy. Some use it more than others, and you can refer to the graph and the key on the graph. If you just look, though, not a lot of states are completely no wind power. And this is a map from 2007, which means most of the states have converted to using wind power. In all of the US and other countries are now started to switch to wind power because it is a fairly cheap and easy to keep up source of natural energy. And the biggest benefit that you're going to get from wind energy is the fact that it is very cheap. For granted that if you wanted to put one in your backyard, it would probably be an expensive investment, but for a country, it is cheaper than solar power because of these reasons. It only takes a motor and metal to work. And unlike solar panels, the wind turbines do not need to be replaced every 5 to 10 years. This is something that we are now noticing as a nation is something that maybe we should be looking into as a cheap, affordable way to capture our energy in this country. And other countries have also started to switch to this. This relates to class very, very, very good because there are not a lot of things out there that we can capture and harvest. And wind power is one of those things that is brilliant, and it's been around since Egyptians, and they used wind. I don't think we need to rely on fuel. I don't think we need to rely on those things. I think we have wind power, which could get us through. The biggest thing that we talk about in class is that the earth is the best thing. It makes us food. It gives us livestock. It pretty much renews itself, but we're taking away from it. And I think that people that are big wind enthusiasts can see that this is definitely one of those things where you don't need to even touch the earth and it will renew itself. You're going to have energy that's renewing itself, and you're not buying fuel, and you don't even need to buy wind. I mean, you just need to put a wind turbine in your backyard, and you pretty much have energy for your house. And depending on how big your wind tower is or how many towers you have, you can supply for an entire neighborhood. I read an article about these guys that do wind power with their bicycles, old bicycles. They take them apart, they use the chains, and they buy a $50 motor, and they make a wind turbine. That's amazing. $50 pretty much. I mean, yes, you might need to pay for the scrap metal, but $50 to make an entire wind turbine. That's amazing to me. And I think that there are things like that out there that we can enhance, and we won't need to worry about, other countries supplying us with our forms of energy. Every country will be self-sufficient. And this would also give Americans jobs, which I think, environmental class has that behind it. Yes, we're protecting the environment, but how can we do it and still keep our economy stable? That is a big question. Well, if they need people to check on wind turbines, that's automatically a job maker right there. These are the reasons why I think that this form is the best form of all. Thank you for watching my video.